Hello everyone. In this video, I explain how to create a process using entity. So I added an entity recruitment request. So as you can see, our entity has a first name, last name, birth date, expected salary, and job type. And the name of the entity is recruitment request, and the display name and the table name into database. So I save it, and as you can see, the type of the property of the entity is decimal, datetime, string, integer, and you can define the length of the string and the default value and the required. So I go to the process and I click on a test and I added process. Name recruitment process and the type is public. So I go to the edit, and in this page I will add a start event and end event. I call it a start. It is better to name all the elements because you can handle it easier. So after the start I will add a task. So it is at request. When you want to assign a form to a task, this task should be user task. So I select the user task. As you can see, the icon changed. After the add request, it is check request, which manager check it. So it has to be user task. So after that, there is a gateway, an exclusive gateway, and you have parallel and inclusive gateway, but in this case, exclusive is enough. So if reject or if approve, if a manager approves this request, it goes to the aware requester. The requester should be a user task because we want to assign a form to that. It is yes. After that, the requester must approve or reject an appointment. If a requester rejects a request or reject an appointment, it goes to the check request again. The gateway. So this is enough. I go to the I forgot. We want to send an email to the user, so I will select a message intermediate through event because I want to send an email to the user. So I call it yes, and it is email. And it is enough. So I save it, and I go to the forms to design our forms. Go to the form, I click on it, go to the form and create a new and add a form called add request. I go to the design and I will add 3 row. When I click on this icon, it adds 3 row, 1 row. So, and at the first I will add the first name, the last name, and the birth date, and expected salary. I think after that I have to add email. The user have to insert its email. I change the label. You can change the label of the inputs or widgets. And this is salary. Expected salary. So this is the type of the input is money. So I will Easy-Bpm will validate that input. So it is required, and I change the icon to the money icon. As you can see, the icon changed. I will change the email icon, and this is first name. As you can see, you can change the class of the widget. I use Bootstrap version 4, so I use Bootstrap classes. It's first name, and this is last name. I will add a drop down, call it job type, and the option of the job type is programmer. The other thing is tester. And it's enough. As a default programmer, select the programmer. So I save the form, and oh, I forgot to add a file uploader. I delete 2 columns and I change the size of the column to 12. So, and the setting, I will add the files. I will select recruitment document and recruitment folder. If you select the folder, all the documents like CV and motivation letter will be available for the user. So it's enough. So I have to assign this widget to a variable. So I add a variable. I call it var request, like I call it var request, and this the type of the variable. Data type is entity, and the type will be entity. So I will assign it to the recruitment request. So filter by thread. If you filter it by thread, for every thread or for every request, each thread is a request, you have a one entity, and so there is no need to add where query or order that. I save it, and I select the property, first name property for the get form, and I will select first name property for the saving to. Get from is for filling the widget and saving to is for saving the widget. So I save that. I do that for the last name. As you can see, I can select last name for the get from and saving to. And forgot to name that, and it says birthday date, and it is date type, it's required, so I bound it to the birth date, and I bound it to the birth date. So all this input should be required because the user have to insert the value, and there I will assign expected salary to the expected salary field, and I will do that for the email. So I will select, we don't have email for this, so I will add email for entity. As you can see, I select the entity, I refresh the page and I select the entity and I add email. The type is a string and it's max. So I added the form, so I refresh the form and I go to the email and I can see the email now. I select the email and for binding, get from job type and save into job type. So that's enough. I can assign folders or files to the entity. I can do that, but for now it's enough. I save the form and I create another form called the check request. So I add the check request, I add a row. I change the size of the row because I want to add the form widget. So I select the add request and it should be read-only. And I add another row. You can add accordion, but for now I add the row. So the row I have to appointment date. I add appointment date. It's required and the format is date time. And I will bound it to, can I see the date? Okay, we don't have a appointment date for request, so I will add a local variable date. So the type is datetime. Type is datetime. I will select that. So I assign appointment date and I add a drop down. So I choose the status and I bound it to a local variable. I can bound it to the request, but For now, I can bound it to the okay, I can bound it to the local variable. Admin status. The type is the number. It's local variable. So admin status, and for the option we have approve and we have reject. As a default, approve is selected and it's required. So it is enough. I go to the create another form. As I can see, okay, I bound all of them. I go to add another form. I want to copy this page. I want to copy the check request, so I click on a copy. So I make a copy of that and I change the name aware requester and show in overview. I check it because I want to show it when the request is finished. This page should be displayed as a read-only, and the appointment date, this is a read-only and there is no need to the required, and this should be assigned to another variable. So I will add var user status, and this is the number, is the local variable var user status, and I select var user status, and the option is approve and reject. So I save it and I make it read-only. I made this form read-only, so I save it and it's finished. I go back to the process designer. Now I will assign the form to the user task. So I click on the edit icon. In this pop-up I will add a step. You can add multiple steps, but for now, for this video, I have one step. So the first one is add request, and I will assign add request form, and the access type is role type. The access is static and the role is requested. Everybody can request for recruitment, so I will save it. And the manager, in the access type I select role static, the role should be manager. Okay, I have to add a step and it's check request, so I will select that, I save it. I go to this page, aware request, I add a step, aware requester. I select the aware requester, I select the access type. When you select a static, you can select variable, you can select corresponding role, but for this video I will select a static, and I will select requester. When in the user task you select a requester role, only the person who start this process can access to this task. So I select requester, the form is selected, and I select this one and I go to the email events. So I select email, and this is current user, send an email from current user to this user. I select variable, I select var request, and in this page I will select email, and the subject is appointment, and the body is your date, your appointment date is. So I can select a variable. I select this, I click on this icon, I select this icon, so appointment date, I select that, so it inserts a square bracket with the variable name. So as you can see, it will send an email. So I save the diagram and I go to the condition or gateway. I select on the gateway edit icon and add a condition. Go to the email when the admin status is equal to the 1. It means the manager approved that. I say approve and go to the end when the manager rejects that. I select the variable admin status equal to or not equal, less than, greater and equal than. So I select equal to the 2. It means reject. As I mentioned earlier when I was designing form. So and I do that for this gateway. We can define condition in the gateway. Go to the end when the request approve that, when the user approve that. I will select the variable and the user status variable. So it's equal to the 1. Go to the check request again. It means reject when the user status is equal to the 2. And you can add, when you add a multiple condition, you can change the type of the validation or and. It is or and. For now it's and, so it is the 1 condition. So I save that. It is finished, so I save diagram. I back to the list of the process. I start recruitment process. So in the user panel, as you can see in the user panel, I can see this process. I can start. Every user who has access to this page, to this user panel module, can start this request. So can start this process. But before that, I didn't explain users. I added multiple users like BPMS manager, BPMS seller, BPMS employee, BPMS project manager. When you add a user, if you insert a username, Easy-Bpm check for existing a user with that username in DNN user table, because BPM user table is not equal to the DNN user table. So they are independent. So when the Easy-Bpm doesn't find this username, it will add that user with this username to the table. So as you can see, for the first time you can define the password if you add a username. So you have a multiple organization, but for now I have no organization, and I go to the user panel, and in user panel I start the process. And when I click on save, it is a validation, so I have to enter that test family and the per save, expected salary, and the email. The job type is a tester. I have to select PDF, so I select two PDF file and I will save that. So if I go, no, I can see it in my task because I am BPMS manager. I have the manager role, so I can see the next step. So I click on that icon in the my task and I can see, and I can set an appointment. I can define the hour and the second. I can approve or reject. I approve. I can download the file, as you can see, the motivation letter and the CV, and I save that. So I am the requester, so I can see my request in my task page. As you can see in my task, I click on that and I approve that appointment, and I cannot change that. I cannot change that because all the form are read only except the status. So I approve that and it is finished. So I can it's in archive in request page. As you can see, I check the show in overview the error request, so error requester page. So I can see that page in the archive, and I can see the summary of the persons or activity on that activities on that request. This is the end of the video. Thank you for watching this.